let's calling this meeting.
Is now unmuted.
We're now calling this meeting to order and unmuting. So good morning, everybody. I want to thank those that are on the call too as well. At this time, I'd like to introduce or recognize Commissioner Presley to introduce our pastor for today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're proud to be joined this morning by Pastor Rob Gill, better known as the Parson, who is the pastor at St. Luke United Methodist Church in Tupelo. Brother Rob's not only a dear friend of mine, he's a masterful guitar player and joins us every Sunday night at State Representative Steve Holland's Sadie J. Farm and leads the music. But this morning he's going to lead the prayer and the preaching. So, Brother Rob, I understand you're on the line. If you will, invoke the deity for us.
Thank you, Brandon. It's a pleasure to be with y'all today. Let us pray. Eternal God, we thank you for a new day, the opportunity to contribute to the welfare and to the betterment of our communities around North Mississippi. In particular, thank you for the Public Service Commission and their dogged determination to bring about quality of life for all people in Northeast Mississippi and Northwest Mississippi through internet access and the work that they've done. We pause also to give and ask your blessing upon those who've been affected drastically by Hurricane Laura and the aftermath of that, and for every person who is there on the ground trying to be part of the recovery process. As they meet today, give them wisdom and insight, give Brandon leadership and ability to conduct the work that they've been committed to do. Give us your grace, forgive us, and lead us forward in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor.
I think, Brother Rob, we all were here, so we're going to spread that prayer over all of us. I think he may have thought it was just a hearing with me today, so we're going to spread your grace throughout the room. Thank you for joining us.
All right, so let's get started with item number 1 on the consent docket agenda. Adoption of proposed consent docket for September 2020 meeting of the commission.
I move we approve as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. All right, moving on to the energy agenda. Number 1, discussion and possible action regarding the proposed order in docket number 2019 UA 011 Southeast Utilities LLC petition by Cynthia Bush and C&M Gas Holdings LLC seeking approval for sale of the controlling interest of Southeast Utilities LLC. Ms. Dixon, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On January 15th, 2019, Cynthia Bush and C&M Gas Holdings filed a joint petition seeking the approval for sale and transfer of the controlling interest in Southeast Utilities from Ms. Bush to C&M. SEU, Southeast Utilities, is a gas distribution system in Walthall County serving approximately 540 customers. Until December of 2018, Ms. Bush had been the sole member of Southeast Utilities. However, at that time, she transferred a 49% membership interest and financial control in SEU to C&M. Shortly after C&M took financial control, Ms. Bush retired, and C&M has actually been operating Southeast Utilities since that time. Ms. Bush now wishes to sell, and C&M wishes to acquire the remaining 51% membership interest in SEU. Upon taking financial and operational control of SEU, C&M worked with staff and pipeline safety to resolve some identified deficiencies. SEU is now up to date on pipeline safety reporting and its annual reporting requirements under the Commission's rules. C&M is not seeking an acquisition adjustment for the purchase price, and SEU's rate base will not increase as a result of the transfer of membership interest. SEU will continue to provide service and charge rates pursuant to its approved general tariffs. Staff has reviewed the filing and supporting documentations along with responses to data requests. SEU has published its notice of intent to transfer ownership, and no protests have been filed. Staff, SEU, and C&M entered into a joint stipulation on August 25th, 2020, which provides for a number of stipulations related to the sale and transfer, such as an agreement that there will be no increase to rate base, customer rates will not be increased, there will be no recovery of costs of the transfer of membership interests in any manner. During times of emergency, the Commissioner for the Southern District will be kept advised by SEU of any service issues and steps to resolve the same. And the stipulation requires for certain annual reporting requirements. The filing has been complete, and upon review, staff recommends approval of the transfer of membership interest as stipulated in the joint stipulation.
All right, you have any questions, anybody? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Move that we
Second on that motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, we'll go on to number 2. Discussion and possible action regarding the proposed order in docket number 2020 UA 089, Cooperative Energy, petition of Cooperative Energy for certificate of public convenience and necessity, authorizing them to acquire, construct, own, and operate electrical transmission line facilities in Simpson County, Mississippi. Line 59, partial rebuild. Ms. Dixon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On July 6th of 2020, Cooperative Energy filed a petition for a certificate of public convenience and necessity, authorizing it to acquire the necessary sites and rights of way to construct, maintain, and operate a section of an existing single-circuit 69 kV transmission line to be rebuilt on new and existing rights of way in Simpson County. The purpose of the project is to improve reliability and quality of service to areas surrounding McGee and the southwest region of Simpson County. The reroute will eliminate constructability limitations and reliability issues associated with maintaining the current alignment of the Line 59 circuit along the congested commercial corridor of Highway 49 in McGee. As an added benefit, Southern Pine Electric Power Association, which is a Cooperative Energy member, owner will incorporate a portion of the abandoned circuit into its distribution system to help improve an underbuilt distribution circuit and improve Southern Pine's service in the area. Cooperative Energy estimates the project will cost approximately $1,147,000, which is going to be funded from a combination of general funds, unsecured short-term lines of credit, and or long-term borrowing obtained from private capital markets, the National Rural Utilities Cooperative Finance Corporation, co-bank loan funds, and or Rural Utilities Service. Staff did review the financial statements and plans for the project funding requirements. Cooperative Energy appears to be financially sound, and staff finds no objection with the proposed funding for the project. Design work will begin once the project is approved by the Commission. Construction is estimated to begin on or around May of 2021 with an estimated in-service date of December 2021. Staff has reviewed the filing, issued data requests, and reviewed the responses. Now the staff's review of the filing is complete. The cost estimates for the project appear to be reasonable, and staff recommends approval of the project as well as a temporary waiver of the company's plans and specifications contingent upon the company filing its plans and specs with the staff once complete but before construction on the project begins.
Okay, do we have any questions?
One question right here. Ms. Dixon, does the higher Mississippi rule come into play on projects such as this for like cooperative energy? I know there seems to be, it's not a rate issue, but you know, the stipulation involved in the higher Mississippi component of, does it come into play? I noticed it wasn't discussed in the recommendation in this.
My understanding, and Mr. Farmer can correct me on this, but I believe the higher Mississippi rule applies across the board to regulated utilities.
Okay,
Now,
so it wouldn't.
this
so
would
it
be a
would need to
service
be-
aspect and not a rate jurisdiction aspect, so I would believe that it would apply, but I defer to Mr. Farmer on that.
The higher Mississippi rule is a rule as adopted by this commission would be applicable. The higher Mississippi rule, however, does not mandate. It really is an encouraging mechanism to attempt to stimulate economic development here in Mississippi by utilizing local contractors to perform projects such as this, and then to later report to the commission on how they did on that. But so that would absolutely apply.
As the person that wrote that rule, I guess the higher Mississippi rule only applies to rate-regulated utilities because the statute requires them to come in for that. But with cooperative not being rate-regulated, I mean, I would be 100% for it applying to everybody across the board, but my understanding, the argument at the time was that it could not apply to someone who was not rate-regulated
Then that's my
The-
mistake.
Okay, that was my question.
I mean, it's a general premise that
As
they
the-
abide
as the
by it,
premise.
they're just not required to.
That's why I mentioned that it is an aspirational rule. It does not mandate.
Okay.
But
I
they would
just-
not have a report or any, I mean, my point being that the issues lined out in that rule that require the advertising, that require all of the domino effect are only a requirement to the investor-owned utilities.
Okay.
A co-op could take it on as their aspirational goal, which they ought to, but they're not required to file a report or to go through that because it only applied to the rate regulated, because that was the jurisdiction that triggered the ability for the commission to institute the rule.
That was my question, just the consistency of the referral or the referencing of Higher Mississippi and some of these things. That's why I was, as you were reading it, it just kind of jumped out at me. I didn't hear that, so that's why I wanted the clarification.
And I would assume that the commissions will, would of course, to always encourage
course.
utilities to utilize Mississippi labor and
And let me
Mississippi
say this, if the commission can find a way to legally, some of y'all were involved in the legal research of that. If the commission can find a way to legally make it apply, I'm all for it applying to everybody. But I just don't think, at the time in which we adopted that, the issue was the ability to do that was based on rate regulation and the fact that those contracts are scrutinized because they do in fact go into rates, which triggered that, and it's where it fell with Entergy, Mississippi Power, Spire, CenterPoint, and Atmos. And the others, it was more of an honor system type thing. Look, if we can find jurisdiction to make it apply, I'll be the first to make the motion to do it. I just don't think we can.
Yeah, Commissioner Presley is of course correct on that. It's but even to the utilities that are rate regulated, the mechanisms other than filing the reports,
Right.
the aspirational goal of having them hire local laborers, local companies. If the local folks just can't get to a reasonable price on it,
Right.
they can hire other people, but the encouragement is to hire Mississippi folks to do Mississippi jobs, as long as that makes sense to do so,
There was a long discussion about, I'm not a lawyer, but I feel like I got a PhD in the dormant commerce clause. And so the issue was, if the commission cannot, this is just for public consumption, I guess, at this point, but the commission cannot require, state statute, for instance, can say that a police department buying a patrol car can buy from a local vendor outside of the procurement laws if in fact that local vendor is within 2% or maybe it's 2% more expensive. That's an example. That may not be what the law exactly says, but you get what I'm saying. That if you're doing business with a local contractor, and it was determined at the time that the commission, because we're not actually we are not a market participant, we're not the ones actually making the purchase, then therefore the commission could not give leeway on prudency reviews, and to say that, for instance, if I bought 10 electrical transformers from a Mississippi company and they were $150 higher than a out-of-state company, the commission could not deem that one way or the other because of the dormant commerce clause and the fact that we're not the actual person making the purchase. So the Higher Mississippi rules intent was to say, okay, you can't do that, but you can encourage advertising, participation, and accountability. And therefore, in any project that has to be bid based upon the statutory trigger, then that particular project must go through these following mechanisms. Advertising, any business can put their name on the list, get early notice or get extra notice of it, and then accountability for the purchases or the contracts that were made, whether or not they did in fact try to use Mississippi contractors. But there's no ability for us to mandate under the law that they must use somebody in Mississippi, unlike what the legislature could do, the legislature could allow it, but that local city or county or government could in fact do that because they are the market participant in there. And so we got into Laura was involved in this, a 6-month, I think, research project into what could you do based upon the constitutional problems with it, and we arrived at the fact that you could create a program in which these type of purchases, these type of contracts must meet a public interest test. The public interest test being, did you give people in Mississippi the fair opportunity to be involved in the process, to know what the process is, but to not cross the line of what a court would determine would be illegal if we in fact said you must use somebody from Mississippi. So that's probably more than you wanted to know, but it's a fair question as to what the thinking behind that was. And that's where we got into the issue of rate regulated versus not rate regulated. And with the program centering on the fact that the statutory requirement for bids of contracts is where that all divided up.
Anybody else? Okay.
Sorry to take us down that rabbit hole. I appreciate the education there.
That's
But,
all right. Well,
if
at
there's
least
a
it cleared
motion,
it up.
there's a motion on the table, make the motion to
Second.
accept staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. So we are on to number 3, which is the discussion and possible action regarding the proposed order in docket number 2020 UA 094, American Midstream LLC, application of American Midstream LLC, 3CM Southeast Gas Holdings LLC, Third Coast Mississippi LLC, and Project Tarpon Holdco LLC for approval and purchase of sale agreement and transfer of assets described therein. Mr. Farmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you mentioned, the applicants in this proceeding jointly seek to enter into a sale and transfer agreement of the assets, of 100% of the assets of 3CM Mississippi. On June 26, 2020, American Mid-South and Project Tarpon Holdco entered into that purchase sale agreement. Pursuant to the terms of that agreement, American Mid-South agrees to sell 100% of the interest in 3CM Southeast to Project Tarpon Holdco, thereby transferring the ownership of 3CM Mississippi to Project Tarpon. 3CM Mississippi owns a 13-mile-long, 6-inch intrastate natural gas pipeline in Forest and Perry counties, and a related certificate of public convenience and necessity. 3CM Mississippi only serves one customer. It is Leaf River Cellulose LLC, pursuant to a transportation contract. The applicants are requesting that the commission approve that June 26, 2020 agreement that provides for the sale and transfer of the CPC and the facilities and the transportation contract from American Mid-South to Project Tarpon Holdco. Although the ownership will change, 3CM Mississippi will continue to exist and will continue to serve Leaf River Cellulose LLC after the sale is completed. The day-to-day operations for the facilities should not change as a result of this transaction, and the employees operating and maintaining the facilities are expected to remain relatively the same for the foreseeable future. The agreement authorizes Project Tarpon Holdco to assign its rights in the future of this agreement to Project Tarpon Parent Holdco as one of its affiliates upon closing of the transaction. Project Tarpon Holdco is requesting that the commission approve its right of assignment in this application. This filing is complete. The staff has reviewed the filings associated with this and recommends approval.
I move we approve, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Got a second?
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Number 4, discussion and possible action regarding the proposed order in docket number 2020 UN 101, Mississippi Power Company, notice of intent of Mississippi Power Company of its filings, regulatory tax recovery clause assessments beginning October 2020. Mr. Farmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On August 5th, 2020, Mississippi Power filed its annual petition for changes to its regulatory tax recovery, referred to as the RTR, schedule rates pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated section 77-3-87. This annual tax is levied by the Department of Revenue on all regulated utilities to fund the reasonable and necessary expenses of the Public Service Commission and the public utility staff. The company filed its statement of gross revenues from intrastate operations for the preceding year, which was 2019, with the Department of Revenue, and was assessed a total tax of $1,454,944, which is $94,369 less than its assessment from the prior year. According to the RTR rider, the rate to recover the tax is meant to be collected effective with the first billing cycle of September. The company did not receive the tax bill until the latter part of July, causing an August filing. In order for staff to have time to review the filing and for the commission to approve it, the new rate will not go into effect until the first billing cycle of October. That would be October 2020 through August 2021. That would allow the company to recover the entire tax amount It was compressed into 11 months. The compressed recovery normally causes a slight increase in the rate. However, the lower 2019 tax assessment actually produces a slight overall decrease in the RTR rate. The regulatory tax recovery assessment is allocated to each customer class based on total billed revenue from the previous year, and the impact this year with the new one would be a difference to an average residential customer of 2 cents per month, and a difference to small commercial and industrial of 8 cents less, and it would be $20.19 less for your large commercial and industrial. The staff has reviewed this filing. It is complete and recommends approval.
Any questions? Do I have a motion?
So move we approve.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, so we're going to move to the telecommunications agenda. Number 1, possible action regarding the proposed order in docket number 2011 UA 387 Q-Link Wireless, petition of Q-Link Wireless LLC for designation as an eligible telecommunications center for low-income wireless. Ms. Bennett?
Thank you, Commissioners. This petition was originally filed on December 15th, 2011. Petition was retired to file in January 2012, pending the FCC order concerning Lifeline in early 2012. The FCC approved Q-Link's compliance plan on August 8th, 2012, and the Mississippi petition was reactivated with supplemental data on October 12th, 2012. Staff has reviewed the company's filing, including the exhibits, the pre-file testimony, and the data request responses, and also participated in several phone calls with the company. Q-Link currently operates as an eligible telecommunications carrier in several states and meets all of the statutory requirements of eligible telecommunications carriers in Mississippi. Staff recommends approval.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
I got one. Is Ms. Stenmark on the phone? Ms. Stenmark, just one question on Q-Link, and I know we've discussed this, but just for the record, do they have any problems with waste, fraud, and abuse that's been cited anywhere in the country as far as double counting people for the Lifeline discount, anything of that nature?
Commissioner Presley, could you please repeat your question? I only heard half of it.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I said, does Q-Link have any record of waste, fraud, and abuse around the country related to the Lifeline discount that that they're applying today to be an ETC for?
Yes, sir. In the initial review of the application, some issues were found. In our review of their updated application and conversations with their representatives, we feel that the implementation of the national verifier is allaying those concerns and adding a layer of protection against further incidents.
Do you know just a monetary amount of their issues that they've had in this regard?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any further questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve staff recommendation.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman. Well, I guess once we second, we can have discussion on it. So I'll second it if we can get to discussion.
Okay. All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No. I support, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought
That's
I
fine.
thought he wanted discussion. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's fine. I mean, my issue,
Go ahead.
no, it's fine. We can, I'll talk, Mr. It's not an issue at all. It's just a question I had about the filing. It's hung out there for a long time. I don't have any question about the filing. It's more about the issues that come up with these companies, but that's fine. We'll take that as a vote. I vote yes, and we'll move on. That's fine. Okay. I'm sorry to confuse it.
I would support as well.
I thought you said, well, anyway.
That's no problem.
I apologize.
I probably worded it wrong. My apologies.
So everybody agrees, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. So the ayes have it. Okay, next one is discussion of possible action regarding the proposed order in docket number 2020 UA 062 Frontier Communications joint application for approval of a transfer of control associated with a joint plan of reorganization of Frontier Communications Corporation and debtor affiliates pursuant to Chapter 11. Ms. Bennett.
Thank you, Commissioner. This proposed transaction is a reorganization of Frontier Communications Corporation and its subsidiaries in conjunction with Chapter 11 of the United States Code, the Bankruptcy Code. On April 14, 2020, Frontier and its subsidiaries commenced a Chapter 11 proceeding. The plan implements restructuring whereby portions of the company's notes will be converted to stock that will likely be publicly traded. The petition was filed with the FCC on June 24, 2020, under docket 20-197, and a public notice was published on July 23, 2020. Comments are due by August 24, 2020, and reply comments are due on September 8, 2020. A letter was filed by the U.S. Department of Justice on August 3, 2020, requesting that the FCC defer action on this application until the Committee for the Assessment of Foreign Participation in the U.S. Telecommunications Services sector is able to complete their review. Staff has reviewed the petition and finds that the petition is in order. Recommendation, staff recommends approval contingent on FCC approval.
Okay, do we have any questions on this?
I hate to have questions every, have questions on every item, but Frontier only operates in, as I understand it, Ms. Denmark may can help me with this, she's the expert, in Hulka, Tishomingo, Guntown. I believe those are the only 3 exchanges in the state. Ms. Denmark, are you familiar with that? I may have left one out. Guntown, Tishomingo, and Hulka.
I believe that's correct, yes, sir.
And, I mean, one of my issues with the reorganization of Frontier and the issues we've had has been their quality of service. Those are the only exchanges in the state that are covered by Frontier, and we should have tried to handle this in a referral order or something prior to that. I guess my question would be, this showed up, I know we've had some discussions about it. My constituents have a litany of problems with Frontier. And as I've read commentary throughout the country, that there are other commissions that have had a litany of problems with Frontier and their reorganization. Why would we take this up today if the Department of Justice on August the 3rd has interjected themselves into an FCC proceeding? Is there a reason we are taking it up now? Is there a deadline we're up against here that I know that was mentioned at one time that we might be working against a deadline, but I represent the only people in the state that get their service from Frontier. And there are serious issues in those communities about it, and I just want to make sure we've got a full vetting of it before I sign off on their reorganization.
Commissioner, our recommendation is based on us reviewing the contents of the application and our, jurisdiction according to the rules of practice and procedure. Our recommendation is that the petition is in order. Ultimately, if you guys vote to approve, it'll still be contingent upon that FCC approval. So if the FCC chooses not to approve it, then our approval will be null and void. The staff's position is that the petition is in order, but you guys can choose to, continue it or not approve it. We defer to you.
I guess the only concern I have in it, and I understand where the process that's gone through, is that in the reorganization of this, they have I love how these telecom companies want to say every day that they're under nobody's jurisdiction, nobody has jurisdiction over them, yet when they have to be reorganized in bankruptcy because of whatever actions they've taken, then they're all of a sudden under somebody's jurisdiction and need to get that approved. So my issue is I represent the only exchanges in the state that's served by Frontier. And while we've known this has been out there, Mr. Chairman, my understanding is we're coming back at the end of the month on the ETC thing. Unless y'all have an objection, if I could just be afforded an opportunity between now and then to have some conversations with the company about what in this reorganization is going to benefit the only 3 little small places in the state that they serve. I'd like to
I don't
have that
have a problem.
opportunity.
Not
And
at
if we
all.
could bring it back up at the end of the month.
No objection.
Okay, thank y'all.
Just table it, and then, we'll bring it back up.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I promise I ain't got any other questions.
You're good. All right, let's move on to the next one. Number 3, discussion and possible action regarding the proposed order in docket number 2020 UA 064, Windstream Holdings Incorporated, order approving the acquisition of equity by Nexus Aggregator LP Pacific Investment Management Company, LLC, and certified affiliate entities in Franklin Resources, Inc., and certain affiliated entities. Ms. Bennett?
Thank you, Commissioner. This proposed transaction is a reorganization of Windstream and its subsidiaries in conjunction with Chapter 11 of the United States Code, the Bankruptcy Code. On April 1st, 2020, Windstream filed a plan of reorganization proposing a restructuring to emerge from bankruptcy. The plan implements restructuring whereby interest in the company will be held by certain creditors. The transaction will not affect customers in any way. The petition was filed with the FCC on May 21st, 2020, and assigned docket number 20-151, with comments due on July 9th, 2020, and reply comments due by July 16th, 2020. No comments were filed, and attorneys for the company anticipate FCC approval by September 1st. The transaction has already been approved in several other states, all contingent upon ultimate approval by the FCC. Staff has reviewed the petition and finds that the petition is in order. Recommendation: staff recommends approval contingent upon FCC approval.
I move we approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. So on to the next one. Number 4, discussion and possible action regarding the proposed order in docket number 2020 UA 065 Deltacom LLC joint petition to transfer certain assets of sellers to purchasers. Ms. Bennett, once again.
Thank you, Commissioner. This application is related to the Windstream reorganization in 2020-UA-064. The proposed transaction involves the transfer of certain Windstream assets to Unity Group Finance. These assets do not include any owned or controlled by Windstream's ILEC subsidiaries and will have no effect on any services offered in Mississippi. The petition was filed with the FCC in docket WC 20-161 on June 3rd, 2020, with comments due on July 27th, 2020, and reply comments due August 3rd, 2020. No comments were filed, and attorneys for the company anticipate FCC approval by September 1st. The transaction has already been approved in several other states, all contingent upon ultimate approval by the FCC. Staff has reviewed the petition and finds that the petition is in order. Recommendation: staff recommends approval contingent on FCC approval.
I do have one question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
The Latin term non proton always worries me. What is the reason that this particular case why does this order need to be passed in that manner? Ms. Bennett or Ms. Dunmarker, whoever wants to answer it. Why would it not be effective as of today? Why?
Ms. Bennett, did you hear him?
No, sir. Could he repeat the question?
Yeah, I was just saying that in item 5, when you look at the docket, it says non proton, which we all know is a Latin term, means as if then. Tell me, I'm just trying to understand, why would the order not be effective today rather than a retroactive non-proton approach to it?
Mr.
We're on the
Commissioner, we're on number 4.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was reading ahead of you, my apologies. Hey, you can't blame me for being slow, right?
Yeah, hold that thought, 'cause we're coming to you. All right, so on this particular one for Deltacom.
Yeah, hold the thought.
The recommendation, the staff's recommending it. Do we have a motion?
I move we approve it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now, we are on.
Get a preview to the questions, right?
We are on to number 5, discussion and possible action regarding the proposed order docket number 2020 UA 099 Fiberlight LLC application for approval, non-pro-tunc of the indirect transfer of control of Fiberlight to Fiberlight Holdings, ILLC, and for the approval, non-pro-tunc of the direct transfer of control in Fiberlight LLC to Fiberlight Holdings, 2 LLC. Okay, Ms. Bennett. Commissioner Presley has a question.
Yeah, so you go ahead and explain it, and then I'll get it. I'll jump to a water item next. I'm kidding. Go ahead, Ms. Bennett. You heard my question is, why is this order in the fashion that it's in?
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I couldn't hear you.
She want to give the explanation, and then I'll ask her the question.
Okay.
What,
It'll be Angel, and also, from what I understand, it's difficult for people on the phone to hear us as well as it is for us to hear them, primarily because the speakers in the ceiling are what are providing that audio. So it is difficult to ask questions to them just by the way this system's set up.
so
Rephrase it.
would you
Yeah.
want to step around?
Oh, it don't matter.
Talk right into there?
I can.
I think that would solve the problem, though, Mr. Chairman.
My question was, why is the order fashioned as a non-pro-tunc, not as effective as the day of which it's to be signed? Why are we doing it retroactive?
Commissioner, I believe it's because the FCC has still not approved this transfer, but I think Ms. Denmark would be able to speak to that more.
Commissioner, that was the requested treatment. That was the title that was on the on the petition when it was filed with the commission.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, I am going to read the memo Ms. Denmark prepared, and I think the answer is within. The proposed transactions are an internal reorganization of FiberLight's holding companies. After completion of the transactions, FiberLight will retain its authorization and continue to provide services to its customers. The reorganization will be transparent to consumers and will not cause any change to the rates, terms, and conditions of service for any FiberLight customers. The petition was filed on August 14th, 2020, but a public notice has not yet been published. Staff has reviewed the petition and finds the petition is in order. Staff recommends approval contingent upon FCC approval.
Any further questions?
I hate to ask this, but so there's not been a public notice issued in it?
No, Commissioner, public notice has not yet been published according to this memo.
Mr. Chairman, I ask that we withdraw this item from the agenda. Unless the commission wants to vote on it, fine, but I just can't sit up here with good conscience and vote on an item that's, number one, retroactive, and number two, there's not been public notice made on it. I don't even know how we can do that.
Well, there's been no motion.
No, that's what I was saying. I was just saying if we can withdraw it until such time as they meet the
We'll
law.
just table it.
I
Right.
motion that we table it.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it can be tabled. Or
Table it.
That's my
With,
motion.
and with a,
Second the motion of Commissioner Presley
All right.
until the action.
Until there's public notice or there's some explanation by the
Yeah.
company as to why they can't do that. I mean, essentially, if you do it in the manner that, as I understand this, we're approving it before there's public notice that there's been anything approved. It's just not a good fashion for us to do. And
All right, so it's tabled. We're going to move on to the administrative agenda. Number one, discussion and possible action regarding approval of commission minutes for the August 2020 term of the commission.
I move we approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Number two, discussion and possible action regarding the proposed order in docket number 2019 UN 001, City of Utica, order referring matter to Commissioner Brent Bailey for hearing and recommendation. Mr. Farmer.
This is a simple referral for a matter pending before the commission and Commissioner Bailey's district. If Mr. Bailey would like to speak to that in any way, otherwise it's just a matter of referring him as hearing examiner.
I move we approve.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, discussion and possible action regarding Town of Belmont. Order referring matter to Commissioner Brandon Presley. Commissioner Presley.
No, this is just the legislature passed a local and private bill this year allowing Belmont to expand its gas system into portions of Etowah and Tishomingo County, which is outside their 5-mile corridor. This is just a referral to hopefully help expedite that before
Okay.
wintertime gets here.
All right, I'll make a motion.
Second motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Number 4, the possible action to be taken by the commission to open a new docket to investigate possible statutory and rule violations by McGill Well Works Incorporated. Ms. Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would actually recommend that items 4 and 5 be taken up together, if it suits the commission.
Okay.
These matters deal with McGill Well Works, which provides water and sewer service to tenants of a trailer park in Gulfport, Mississippi. However, it's come to the attention of the commission that McGill may also be serving customers outside the park without a certificate of public convenience and necessity as required by the Public Utility Act. In addition, McGill appears to be in violation of a number of DEQ regulations due to disconnecting certain sewer customers and without authorization, and also dumping some sewage unlawfully. Therefore, we would recommend opening a docket to investigate the potential statutory and rule violations, and in addition, according to item number 5 on the agenda, refer that docket to Commissioner Maxwell for hearing, report, and recommendation.
I move we approve items 4 and 5.
Do I have a
Second motion on that.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, is there any further business to discuss here today? Okay. Hearing none, we stand